Just close your eyes. Know the peace within.
Beloved GM, I have a question from the book Know Your Supreme Richness. It is a chapter 7, the very base for knowing your existence, I amness, also happens by consciousness itself. Now, my question is every knowing is by consciousness itself, then how comes it is trapped by imposed personality unknowingly?
First of all, your consciousness does not know that it is at the non-dual level. It comes to know about its presence only through the form as I amness. Since it comes to know its presence as I amness through the form, unknowingly it accepts the form to be itself, though it is prior to form. Just now the form happens only out of your consciousness. But for your conscious presence, form cannot happen. You are prior to the happening of the form, but your consciousness does not know that it is the source of all forms. So unknowingly it accepts itself to be the form. So the only way for your consciousness to know that it is the source of all form is to be conscious of itself. My question is to the consciousness within just now, are you conscious of yourself? The moment you are conscious of yourself, you start knowing the stillness within. The moment you know the stillness within, you stay beyond divisions, beyond object, beyond duality. When you are already beyond duality, how you are trapped by the duality show? That is also unknowingly, because your consciousness does not know what it is. By not knowing what it is continuously trapped unknowingly at the form level, within space, at the duality level. So your consciousness knowing its presence as I amness itself is by consciousness. That also your consciousness does not know. It is unknowingly accepting this I amness to be a person, to be a form, to be born. Your I amness is beyond time, but it is accepting the I amness also within time limits. It says I am born in such a place and such a time. It is beyond time, infinite. Your conscious presence is infinite, but unknowingly it is accepting itself to be a finite form, and unknowingly it accepts that it is going to die also, it is going to disappear, though it is ever there. So the entire duality show is only out of the ignorance of your consciousness about itself. Once your consciousness is conscious of itself, it is already free from the duality show. So unknowingly the duality happens, unknowingly your consciousness accepts itself to be the form, unknowingly your consciousness is trapped, unknowingly your consciousness accepts that it is born, and unknowingly it accepts that it is going to die. So the entire duality show at the form level identity is absolutely sheer ignorant about itself. See, in your deep sleep, you are observing a dream in which you appear to be. You move here and there inside the dream, but you never know that you are outside the dream lying down in the bed till you wake up. Exactly here, your consciousness does not know that the form itself is happening out of itself. This it will come to know only when it wakes up totally. How will your consciousness wake up when it is not at all conscious of itself? The very basic essential principle is only your consciousness, your I amness. out of which everything is happening just now. So the world is unknowingly happening. Cosmos is also unknowingly happening. Here everything is unknowingly accepted as real, 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 real. Once your consciousness knows that it is only consciousness and it is already beyond duality, it cannot accept the duality to be real, because it starts knowing the reality within, beyond limitations, beyond boundaries, beyond duality, beyond object, beyond subject, beyond time, beyond moment, beyond space. Just now. Now tell me, is not your consciousness unknowingly accepting the dream to be real because it is yet to wake up? So better wake up consciously and know that nothing never happens to you. Had your consciousness known that it is consciousness, the very moment the world stops, it is totally free from the duality show. Whether the duality show happens or not, your consciousness remains unbothered about all such movements, about that unreal show. Because it is yet to wake up, it is unknowingly trapped. Why it is trapped? Because it does not know that it is consciousness and it is accepting itself to be a tiny form with limitations. The form is also appearing only for a limited time. It appears and disappears. Just now, at an unexplainable speed, and it appears so. And in deep sleep, that also disappears totally. You do not know where you are and what you are. Though you are eternally here, and sleep happens, you do not know what you are, because to know your presence, you must be conscious of yourself. Because in your conscious presence only everything is happening. So the very fundamental factor itself is missing, that your consciousness is not at all conscious of itself. So I am helping your consciousness to be conscious of itself. My whole teaching is only to make your consciousness to be conscious of itself. Then only it can remain wakeful. Only by remaining wakeful inwardly, it starts knowing the reality about itself. Because the moment your consciousness knows the stillness within, it is merging into the source of awareness. Just now, with eyes closed, your consciousness is never separate from the source. It is already merging in the source of awareness. The more you merge totally, you are free from the duality show. One day you will wake up totally and know that the duality show is not real, and you alone observe here and you alone prevail here, and nothing never happens to you, and whatever observed within space are only an unreal dream. This you will declare only upon waking up totally from the perceived unreal duality show, by stabilizing and settling in stillness constantly and consistently, and not otherwise. So my whole teaching is only to wake up your consciousness, because I know what you are. I know you are never separate from me. So I am just waking up your consciousness. Just wake up and know that nothing never happens to you. First, help yourself, that is to know what you are. Because except yourself, nothing is here. Everything begins in your consciousness. Everything happens in your consciousness, and everything ends up in your consciousness. But for your consciousness, nothing is here. But what is all these things which is appearing, moving and disappearing? Are they real? If they are real, why should they appear and disappear? The only thing that your consciousness needs to know is to realize what it is. So your consciousness realizing what it is mandatory. Otherwise, it remains ignorant and it accepts the birth to be real, which is not. When it is never born, it is accepting the birth to be real, and it cannot die, and it is accepting the death to be real. And nothing has never happened to it, but it is accepting every incident to be real and remains depressed also. It is exactly like how you remain disturbed inside the dream till you wake up. Here also, in this waking state, your consciousness needs to wake up consciously. Now you are accepting the entire waking state, the bundle of entire waking state to be real, though it is not real. to know that there's not even an iota of the reality within this perceived duality. Your consciousness needs to be conscious of itself. If you can understand this statement, it will penetrate your consciousness. At any moment, you will have the chance of waking up. The only flaw is that your consciousness is never conscious of itself. It is always identifying itself to be a person with certain identifications. Though it is beyond the form, beyond identifications, it is accepting the form to be itself and all the identification to be itself. It is already non-dual, but it is accepting the duality to be real. Then how can it wake up and know its non-dual eternal richness? What else I am doing here? I am just waking up your consciousness. Throughout my teachings, I emphasize only this. I wake up your consciousness so that it can know what it is exactly. It can know its ultimate, eternal, absolute richness. I see to that your consciousness should not miss its richness. That's why I am expounding these teachings to your consciousness, which is in search of itself, not to any person here. Always ensure whether you are conscious of your presence. That is more than sufficient. Now you know that you are without words. This is more than sufficient. No knowledge is required to know your presence. Now you know that you are, but you do not know what you are. So by abiding in this stillness, you can wake up and know that you are only the observer and not the observed. You are always the ever-present observer, eternal observer, absolute observer. And whatever observed within duality show is not you, never you. But unknowingly your consciousness is accepting the observed duality show to be itself, to be real, unknowingly. So when your consciousness knows that there is no reality within the duality, only when it wakes up, till it wakes up, it accepts the duality to be real. So I am helping your consciousness to remain wakeful, to know the stillness which is unmoving, unchanging. Then only your consciousness wakes up totally and realizes its eternity beyond duality. Only a realist can help you and wake up your consciousness. Having come here, never miss the opportunity of realizing what you are. I am addressing my whole talks exclusively to the consciousness within. Imbibe this teaching sincerely. It helps you a lot to wake up and realize what you are. There's no difficulty at all in realizing your true nature. Just abiding in stillness is sufficient. Once you are conscious of yourself, you can handle the duality show, because in your consciousness only the world is happening. In your consciousness only everything is appearing. You are the master at the conscious level. Once you know your conscious presence without words, you are very much conscious of everything around you. You know how to handle moment to moment. You need not plan anything once you are conscious of yourself. Your conscious presence alone is more than enough. That's why I say you are enough unto yourself. Here you means your consciousness, not the personality. I never address anything to personality which does not exist.